Hey everyone, Justin Byers and JB Byers Woodworking. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're doing some jewelry boxes. So, doing 9 of them, and this is some quilted African mahogany. Really gorgeous stuff once you get a finish applied onto this. It's insane at the figure and the grain and stuff that it has in it. But I've kind of got where I wanted to make a bunch of boxes, so I'm going to be making about 9 of them. This is all the pieces of wood that I have that I've saved up and resawn. I have some quilted maple, bird's eye maple, ambrosia maple, some mahogany, spalted maple, some walnut, and some other pieces that I've been wanting to make into some jewelry boxes. So I thought I'd go ahead and get started on them. And actually, you will see the 8-foot table that I was working on. You will see that in this video as well. So here I am trying to figure up, the dimensions of what size I want to make each of these boxes, and then go over and get my material sawed down and figure what I want to use for lids, what I want to use for sides, and get them trimmed up and ripped down to the dimension that I'm looking for. Here I am ripping walnut and stuff and ambrosia maple and getting these pieces to the height that I'm wanting a lot of these boxes to be. And I usually, I think I keep them around 4.5 inches tall. And I do want to make some tall ones later on. One of these is actually going to be a humidor. My first time making humidor, and hopefully that it does right. And I usually break my material down on my miter saw, and then I will go later on the table saw, sneak up on it and get my angles and get it trimmed just right and really get it dialed in on my table saw. But, with a 8-foot piece, it's kind of hard to do on the table saw. But here I have all my blanks cut down to size. And there's, an assortment of stuff. But here I actually have this ambrosia maple. But here's this quilted, kind of a spalted quilted maple that I snuck in. And I have some dogwood and some walnut and some different flavors of ambrosia maple. So I'm a huge maple guy. I really like anything maple. I love it. I know a lot of people dig walnut. And, I like walnut as much as the next guy. But maple is my definite go-to. I just like the character and figure and stuff that you get in it. Here I am trimming up everything, getting my angles really dialed in on the table saw, getting everything cut. I tried to get as much footage as I could to where it kind of made sense, where I didn't leave any steps out. I know a lot of this stuff's pretty cut and dry, straightforward, but for some people that's not 100% sure on how to make these boxes, just miter your corners. Here's a dry fit of this dogwood. And actually on this one piece, I'm leaving these. I was going to fill them, but I actually decided to leave them open and exposed. And this one little piece right here, I guess I'm going to have to tape this up to kind of keep it held in place when I glue it together. But shouldn't be an issue. So I have a couple of those that I kind of left. It took me several nights on whether or not I wanted to fill them with epoxy or not, and I didn't. And here's a piece of hickory. Later on, I'll show you. This has some tear out, and I ended up. This is my first time patching a piece, so I dug through my stack and I found another piece of hickory that looked fairly close, looked like it matched up. So I'm going to cut a section out of this and route out that busted out section and try to get this grain pattern to match up to where it doesn't have that tear out in it. I was going to fill it with epoxy, but I didn't. And here I am running dados for the rabbits for the lids. Some of them I run dados, some of them I ran rabbits, and here I am just dry fitting a lot of these up. Make sure I have everything, cleaned up. And here I have the spalted maple lid with the walnut trim. Got it in the clamps and gluing up that I'm going to use for the humidor. And I have a couple other pieces that there's some more quilted maple. I have some more that that I want to use to use as a lid. Some of these thinner ones, like this one, I like to try to use these for the lid inserts and stuff like that. And later on, I may try to do some little insert trays and stuff, maybe. But here I have all my dados ran for this one, so everything fits in nicely. And these dados, here I am getting everything lined up, and I do a final little quick sanding on the inside and outside with 220 just to kind of get it closer to that last step. But when you run dados and glue this stuff up, it makes going, the boxes going together a lot easier. I actually didn't tape these up, and what I do, if you look, you notice I took about 1/4 of an inch on the inside of that glue joint, and I actually wiped it off so that when it squeeze out, it's not a lot of squeeze out that gets inside the box. That was a little trick that I had learned a while back trying different things. A lot of times I used to tape the boxes up. Took a little longer, and I thought, let me just try to see if I can wipe some of this off, because the glue is going to squeeze where it's going to go anyway. And I'm I don't have any trouble or issues with the getting everything cleaned up on the inside. So here's that hickory, and I picked this piece. It looks like it would match up fairly close, so I'm going to use this piece to cut and mark it out, get everything trimmed, cut down, and routed out for, because I actually want to use this for a lid. And here I am. There's a piece on the edge that I'm going to just tore out right there, and that piece in the center. So, and believe it, it's two different pieces of wood, but the grain matched up really nicely. So I got lucky there. And here I am setting my router up to whittle out all that bad spot in the hickory there. So once I get all that trimmed out and cleaned up and stuff, I go all the way down to where it's kind of fresh wood, down below just a little bit where it's tore out, and that way I have a nice flat clean surface for the piece to mate to and sit down in there really nicely. Hickory, and I've only done a few things with this hickory, and it's if anybody's worked with hickory, it's some pretty tough wood. It smells good, and it's got some really beautiful grain. And later on, you'll know why I picked this piece to go with the dogwood box that I'm going to use this to make the lid for. So here I am gluing that in, and it really matched up a lot better than I thought. I wish I'd have got a little cleaner. There was still some small spaces in it that I didn't quite get on the backside of it, but all in all, it's really not a horrible patch job, I don't think, other than that little seam down the back there. But like I said, a good bit of it I'm gonna cut off on the back there. So, but all in all, it matched up good. Here I am doing a profile on this spalted maple, and also this profile I did on a box a while back. I actually like this profile. Here's some flame box cutter I'm gonna use too, but the profile that I used, I tried to do one with a cabinet raised panel lid, and it turned out okay, but I do not like it. I do not like the way that it looked, and I will stick to that little scallop raised panel type look. So here I was, ripping some more rabbets on the table saw, doing a dry fit, getting all this to match up and fit in there nicely. And like I said, this is dogwood box, and the lid is that hickory. And I don't know if I'll show you right here. the sap line on this dogwood, it ended up looking like it blended well with this hickory as well on the edge. So that's why I use this hickory on the with the dogwood, is to match those two sap lines together. Even though it's two different species of wood, I really particular on trying to get grain pattern and grain direction and things to match up. And these two really complemented one another color wise, as well as lining up and looking like something. And these boxes are 10 inches by 14 inches. These, I think the smallest one I did was that walnut one. I think it was 6 by 9 by, I think maybe 4 inches tall. Um, I just don't like, you got this much pretty wood. I would much rather make a big box out of it than I had just a small one and end up losing a lot of material. And here I am doing that scallop kind of raised panel lid on that. And I leave all these a little proud because I have 1 1/8 dowel that I will wrap in a piece of sandpaper, and I will sand around that profile when everything's glued up and done. I'll sand those, and they'll sand in really nicely and stuff. And I'll come back and chiseled and cleaned all these profiles up on these spots here. So to the touch, there, once I get done sanding the 2,500, 3,000 grit sandpaper, it's smooth. And here's that quilted African mahogany lid wrapped in bird's eye maple that I'm going to do some quilted maple inlays in. First time doing this, so I was a tad nervous, like really nervous about doing these. So once I got the router set up, I just kind of did some small passes and snuck up to it and got everything routed out. It went smoother than I thought or had planned for it to. It went fairly easy for my first time doing this. So I got the first 2 sections routed, glued in, wait on that to dry, then I come back in and do the cross section. So, and here it is all finished up and glued in. And I actually did a 3.5 degree bevel on this lid. Part of me wishes I would have left it flat, but I just trying something new. And here, doing some epoxy. I have a lot of stuff going on. This I did on a table. So I decided to take that same concept to this jewelry box. And I've got these little trinkets that I did. I did a table out of flame box elder a while back where I did clear epoxy resin bow ties. I haven't seen any of those. I've seen every other kind of bow tie that you could think of, but I've never seen any clear ones that actually had stuff laid, inlaid inside of the clear epoxy. You see a lot of people do clear epoxy and, they put things in. I've done it, but I left this, when I routed this out, I decided to leave 1/4 of an inch to use it as a dam for the epoxy. That way I had to tape it off. And when I come back in and route the profile for this, it will actually take right up to where that line is there and here. When I route the profile, it'll actually take this material away, exposing that epoxy edge, so you can see everything through the side there. That's my plans, and it worked, moderately good. It's about 3/8 of an inch down is how far I routed down into that piece. So yeah, I really like doing stuff like this, stuff that you don't see all the time, and trying new things and whatnot. And this epoxy that I'm using, I think it's from the epoxy resin store. It's slow curing resin, and it's really clear. Like once it cures, there's not a whole lot of bubbles. Once you get all of them filled in and poured and go through and pop your bubbles, it's such a slow cure that once it clears and finishes, it's a really nice clear finish. You can see everything. I like using it for this purpose here because you can actually see all the detail into all the pieces. So, and you can see where some of the resin actually soaked into the wood. This box elder is really porous. It really absorbs a lot of stuff. And this is the box that I was talking about using that cabinet raised panel bit on. And I do not, don't get me wrong, it looks good. It's a nice looking box, but it looks like an urn to me. So I really do not see me using this raised panel bit on any more of my boxes later on down the road. I just decided to try it and thought it would be a neat look, but and it's not a bad looking box, but to me it's just I don't care much for it. So here it is, everything's cured. I've got everything sanded down smoothly, so now I'm gonna do a profile on it. So once it hits this edge, it should take all that off like I had planned. And I try to plan process of how things will be after I take this step. I try to think 3 or 4 steps ahead. I didn't want to take it all at one time, so I just did a little bit at a time, raised my bit up, and took some chunks. I didn't want to have any accidents happen where something tore out or I took too much and it chipped out on me or something. But it did really nicely. You can see some of it. So yeah, and I actually have a buddy of mine I took to his shop. You'll see that later on where he sprays them for me. Here's a box that I've not done anything like this before. I'm actually going to just glue the top and the bottom directly to the top and the bottom of the box. I thought I'd give it a try and see how it turned out. And it's not a bad looking box. And here's one that I did with the grain pattern running opposite. I know I've done dados in this one as well, but a lot of times your grain pattern runs long ways with the box. And here I did it running horizontal versus, or vertical versus horizontal, however you want to look at it. And I kind of like it. It's just not a bad look. So I may do some more like that later on. That was actually some maple that I used to do in that walnut. Oh yeah, this is a funny story. So when I got my headphones on, I don't hear anybody. I don't hear nothing. My nephew walks in and he sneaks up behind me, and he said he's been in there for like 5 or 6 minutes before I start back to the table and notice that anybody's even in there. Like I said, I've had a lot of people come in, and I don't, I got my music going. I don't hear anything. So I told him he's on YouTube now, so he'll be famous. And he just come by he has some stuff at my house from time to time, so he come by, picked that up, and showed me a few videos and whatnot. But I thought that was kind of a funny moment. Also, from time to time, I like to bring my dog out in the shop. I don't know how many out there has shop dogs. And we have a couple of dogs that run loose in the neighborhood, and sometimes they swing by to check out King and come in the shop. And I usually keep some treats with me, and I guess that kind of keeps them coming back. But I don't mind having a few dogs running around. But yeah, I believe I found out that she was probably in heat because King was drooling like somebody at a buffet. So yeah, she was, but she's a pretty good pup. And, but yeah, sometimes I'll have King out in the shop with me, take a break and hang out with the dogs for a little while. I don't know if anybody else out there has shop dogs. If you do, let me know down in the comments. And here we're scroll siling, which I hadn't done in a while. So I got some Purple Heart, mahogany, bird's eye maple, spotted quilted maple, and I'm tracing these leaves and things out on these pieces, and I'm gonna scroll saw those for the quilted maple box with the quilted African mahogany lid that's wrapped in bird's eye maple with quilted maple inlay. That's a whole lot to say in one sentence. And I've done this on a box that I used quilted maple and the quilted mahogany, and I did some really nice quilted maple leaves on it, and I really liked it. It kind of gave it a 3D, kind of a dimensional look. And I thought, if I ever get the opportunity, I'm gonna try this again, but I may try it with some different species of wood. And so I picked all these to use to cut out on my scroll saw. And actually, I believe the mahogany was the toughest. I went through 30 blades cutting all these leaves. And like I said, this material is only about, excuse me, some of it's an eighth of an inch, some of it's a quarter of an inch, and it was pretty tough on my blades. So this kind of give you an idea of what I'm going for, and the depth, the texture that that this kind of gives a different dimension to. I know I've seen some inlays and stuff, but I try to do things that you don't see a whole lot. And I like the raised leaves. And I thought with the different colors, it kind of give it, like the different colors of the seasons and stuff like that. But here they are, kind of got them laid out moderately how I want them to be. I end up switching them a few times till I come up with something. And I'm going to do one on this walnut and bird's eye maple, but I'm going to cut these out of bird's eye maple. And I actually only finished 3 of these boxes, and that's all I'm going to show in this video. But later on, toward the end, I'll show you the finished product of those 3. But here, altogether, I got 9 boxes. I'm planning to make 3 more later on with some cherry that I've got. But here's all these boxes. Everything's glued together, so I'm getting ready to get everything kind of marked up where I want to do it. I did a round over on this one and just kind of give it a neat, clean look. And then I take everything over to the table saw. Here it is with this bird's eye maple. I'll show you that. And this is what I've got planned for this one. So, but I'm gonna take everything to the table saw and cut all these lids off of all these boxes. I really do want to try to get a bandsaw later on, just for the kerf, just so it's a thinner cut. Because once you take an eighth of an inch, and it's not a bad cut, but it's still an eighth of an inch of material. So I have a piece of marble I have some sandpaper glued down to, that I sand these lids down to get everything moderately flat and a really good finish on. So, but yeah, I cut all the lids off on these. And then I took the one with the epoxy. I actually had a buddy of mine that paints cars, and I bring it to him. I forgot about this part. So this is where I'm putting in these mortise locks on this humidor, and I have another one I did this on. It's kind of hard to keep your router balanced on this. So I cut some 2x4s the same height as the inside of my box, just to give me a better surface to route this out on the lid as well as the box. And I set my router up, my router table, to do these for the hinges and stuff, and just set me a stop up to route those out. And this is the Spanish cedar that I put inside the this humidor. And here's all these boxes. Here I am applying a finish to this maple humidor, and that curl on this corner right here is really nice. Here's some engraving that I'm going to do with this Masonic masonry logo, and you can see that this is really fine work that I'm doing by hand with a router. So, but and then I'm doing each color. So when one cures, I go back and do another color. Here I am routing the hinges out. I just put a block up and do my hinges. That's how I do that. This box that I'm working on right here with the epoxy is the one that I actually take up to a buddy of mine and let him paint for me. And I just get everything dry fitted, make sure that, here's the hinge. So I got some double-sided tape. Once I mash down on that, then that's where my latch needs to go for my lock. And here he is painting these. Chris, he's does body work and super fast painter. He don't play around when it comes to painting, and he lays stuff down like it's insane. So this is kind of a trial run. We're going to see how this goes, because I know that flame box elder really is porous, and we're just trying this method to see, you know, how it's going to turn out. That maple really looks good with that clear coat on there. So I may end up switching over to where I have, you know, either him or I get me a spray gun and start spraying these myself. But I'm really digging the finish on this. Later on, I might do another video of all these, but here's 3 of them that I have finished up that I've used a teak oil finish. Here's the masonry Masonic one that I did the engraving on with the blue, gold, white, and black. Here's the humidor that I did, and here's the one with all the leaves. You can see the just phenomenal at all these different colors, from the walnut and the spalted quilted maple, and I wrapped that one around the corner, and the purple heart and the mahogany, and this, it's a really, this edge on the inside of this box is phenomenal as well. So really, really some beautiful wood. And here's the inside of the humidor where I have everything mounted, and the Spanish cedar. I don't know if anybody's ever worked with Spanish cedar, but it's kind of a spicy smell. It's a nice aroma, but it's spicy, and there's where that live edge kind of goes through. And I had a little place, I think it's on the back corner down there. So there's places all the way around this box that on all 4 sides. So, but this one was a really fun build. I enjoyed doing all these. Like I said, this Spanish cedar is a kind of a spicy aroma to it. And here's the mortise lock. And this is a fun build, so I definitely plan on doing some more of these later on. And so here's, you know, here's 3 of them. I thought I'd show these 3 that I got finished. And if you're still here, you know, if you found this interesting, if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And I'm trying to hit that 1,000 mark, getting pretty close, way closer than I thought I'd ever be. This has been a really awesome experience. So I appreciate everybody. Keep making, be kind to one another, and I appreciate everybody.